Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Altoona Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. This is the regularly scheduled January meeting. First order of business is to call the roll. So, Trustee Andrews. Maybe you wasn't here.
All right, here I am, and I'll
there you are.
Myself on
oh, hi, Terry. No. Trustee Capel.
Here.
Trustee Clark.
Here.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Here.
Great, and we have a forum. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any changes to the posted agenda that we have for this evening? No? Seeing none, may I get a motion for the agenda as stated?
So moved.
And seconded.
Thank you. Great, thank you very much. We'll go vote order here. So, Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
Great, and I vote for me. Thank you very much. All right. As such, we have no, I understand we have no public comments on non-gen items, and Diego will jump in if, in fact, we do have any public speaker requests. So next on the agenda is the consent calendar, which covers approval of the minutes for the regular meeting that was held on December 20th, as well as the special meeting that was held on January 7th. Anyone have any questions or comments on either of the minutes that have been posted? No, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you, Terry. May I get a second?
Second.
Great, thank you very much. All right, we'll go to the vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
Great, and that's I vote for myself as well. Item number 4 is any items that were removed, which since we have none, we'll go on to the item number 5, which is department updates and special presentations. We have a special presentation on the Altoona Library District Annual Financial Report for fiscal year 2021. So I'll ask Director Winslow to jump in and introduce the item and the presenter, please.
All right, good evening. Good to see everyone.
Likewise.
So we work with NIGRO and NIGRO to do the annual audit. And Paul, I believe this is our, what, second or third year that you've been in the audit and presenting. So Paul comes very highly recommended by our accountants at Eide Bailly and has done a great job for us. So excited to pass this off to him to present what I think is a very positive audit to the board.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Good evening, everyone. If I haven't met you in person yet, my name is Paul Kmark. I'm the audit services partner here at NIGRO and NIGRO. I work with special districts around the state of California. Here today to talk to you about the audit results for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. We have a chance to work with staff, and it's been kind of a hybrid in regards to COVID. And there has been a change in staffing during the year here. So we wanted to make sure that we covered that aspect as well. When we look through the segregation of duties, the internal controls, those aspects, we try to cover those at the beginning of the audit, kind of the administrative aspects of the audit overlay, so we can understand that the controls are in place so that when the numbers come to rest at June 30th, they're there and ready to be audited. With the help of Eide Bailly, the district and Eide Bailly bring the numbers to close, to reconciliation. And at that point of time, they turn over a package to us to take into regards to audit those numbers overall. We have taken those measures, a lot of them virtually, doing either Zooms, talking with people's staff there about how things work, how the segregation and internal controls are done, and then the numbers and the reconciliations and the reconciliation packages that come along with those numbers as they come to rest at the end of the year. And tonight I'm here to present you the results of those numbers and how the numbers came to rest in a nice historical document as of June 30th, 2021. If I may share my screen, I'll get started. Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing?
No.
I
Diego?
have to hit the share button. There we go.
That usually helps.
That helps. Can you see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right. I'm starting with page 14 of the document if you have a hard copy of the document in front of you. What I'm doing is I'm starting back a little bit with the revenue and expense report, okay, on a cash basis. So more of a checkbook basis than having to do with the accruals. It really tells you how cash changed during the year, during the period under audit. So if we come down here, we look at property taxes. Property tax assessments went up within the district's boundaries for the year. We gained about $120,000 in $140,000 in property taxes overall. That means properties are changing hands. Either some of the property that's old that people moved out, new people moved in, reassess new value. Other things may have occurred. You put in a pool or something, it raises the assessment value, and the assessment overall came in a little higher, 140,000, 2.880 for the year. Property taxes redevelopment increment. The state of California is phasing out the redevelopment aspect of property taxes, but this impacts on one-time basis those phase out of redevelopment projects within your service area, okay? These numbers can bounce around, jump up and down each year. Something could be sold, the proceeds of that could come in here. This could be, it's the Wild West when we talk about numbers. It's hard to budget for that, but it is extra revenue is coming in as redevelopment is phasing out in the state of California here. So from that, an increase about $4,000 in redevelopment increment from the payments on that during the year. This money, once it does phase out, it will move into regular property taxes, but it could be a while for that. Special assessments overall, the library assessment overall still coming in strong, about another $30,000 there during the year based on the property taxes and each individual property that is assessed. Charges for services look like walk-in traffic was a little bit less during COVID year. So we're going to see a decline in charges for services overall, what you're doing inside the library. Operating capital and grants, here we go. Here's the big money for what the stuff that you're doing there to the library, the improvements that you're making and other things and COVID things that are coming in. This is where we receive that grant money. So a large influx there overall, about $400,000 more than the prior year. And then investment earnings change in value. We went from 53 down to negative. We're going negative, yes, negative. Unfortunately, a large part of your money is with the LA County, the County of Los Angeles. There, and that is a pool of money, okay? And in that pool was invested at fair market value. We have to look at it if the pool was to cease operations on June 30th, on that day, one day snapshot in time. If at June 30th, the pool were to say, let's just cash out everything, the pool was in a loss position at that point in time, and you would lose some at that point in time, okay, based on the fair value. So there was a loss position because of the decline in interest rates. The county was in a negative interest rate position overall at that point of time in their pool where you're pulling your funds. So it's a moving thing, it moves, but it just happened at that point in time, we went the other direction. So that's the cause for the negative, and other revenues stayed the same. 4.3 versus 3.9, a nice increase there overall, especially looking at that overall. Of course, it's going to be from predominantly the operating grants and capital grants that you received in there. The other ones, property taxes and special assessments, those are supposed to go up each year anyway. So salaries and wages on a cash basis, 1.8, 2.0, had some, either filling positions, COLA increase, raise the salaries and wages there between the two periods on a cash basis. We look at employee benefits here, very steady. The positions being held, we're taking the benefits overall. When you look at the accrual number, it's a little different because we have pension stuff in there. We've got OPEB stuff in there. Number will go up and down, fluctuate on the full accrual, but on the cash basis, nice and steady, okay? Materials and services. Wow, could you budget that any better? It's like $3,000 between the 2 years. So very, very close, like that overall. Capital outlay, you're doing things. You're doing things to your infrastructure overall. You're doing things there to the district. You're purchasing long-term assets. You're making revitalizations is going on to the building and everything and the contents within. We show outlay, money that you spent, 429,398 for the year and purchasing new long-term assets. We capitalize those and then we depreciate them on a full accrual basis. That's why you'll see a different number there. So overall, the cash, where did it change? We increased cash overall 121,016, or basically fund balance, adding to our reserve cash fund balance, or those receivables coming in that are like cash anyway, really soon. We added that to our reserves overall to from 3.6 to 3.7 million in liquidity. Any questions on that? Nope, not seeing no questions. We'll go back here and we'll look at this based on go to the page before, and we'll look at it from a liquidity point of view. So cash and investments, there's the 3.7 million right there overall, pretty much. We had some accrued interest at the end of the year, 5,281. Property taxes and assessments receivable, that's still coming in. That came in July. Both of these numbers came in, interest and property tax receivable. That money came in July. A little other accounts receivable and some prepaid items, prepaid healthcare, prepaid insurance, prepaid something. So at the end of the year, we had some bills to pay, 162,438 in payroll liabilities, accounts payable, other things like that to pay at the end of the year, and other accrued salaries and benefits at the end of the year there. So when we look down that, non-spendable, that's going to match up with prepaid items. It's just non-spendable. You already spent it. Okay. Assigned 95,837. That is usually your vacation payable balance that we recognize right there. If you were on this one day in time to cease operations the next day, the one thing you've already made a contract for is vacation payable, and that'd be to pay out your employees for the vacation payable there. Okay. After that, unassigned 3.6 million, that is your reserves there for your capital and operating expenses in future periods to budget for. Any questions?
Just
Any
a quick question,
questions?
Paul, to make
Okay.
sure
Okay.
I understand. So is it fair to say that at the end of the fiscal year, that $3.6 million number, that's our reserve balance, right? Like that's everything. I get that there are all these other pieces, but that's where we can kind of think of our reserve as sitting.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if all of this up here, 3.7, 5.2, 193, 38, all these receivables come in with the next 30 days, which
Right.
basically they did. They all came in and they basically were turned from receivable to cash in July. You pay the bills outstanding, you have the accrued, you pay the payroll. That's what you got left over on a cash basis. Because this, when we look at this, it's cash or liquidity turning into cash in 30, 60 days. So yeah.
Right. Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Paul, quick question for you on the previous screen where we had the expenditures, previous screen. I guess we've been page 13 or 12.
There we go.
The first page, yeah. And near the bottom, you had the expenditures, the 429,000 under materials and services. Now, I'm assuming that is part of that is, and maybe this is an Ian question, this is going to be reimbursed by future bond issuance proceeds? Or is that just from net cash that we're fronting?
I'll jump in on that, Paul. That was some of the IT infrastructure where you did receive some of that capital money, the capital grants, and we put that towards the infrastructure. So you'll see the operating capital grants and contributions up there, sort of already paying for that.
Got it.
It was
Okay.
like
Great.
330 or something, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that right,
something
Ian?
around the ballpark. Yeah, 300.
Because we did front some money,
Yeah, I think it was
Right.
about 335.
but it's like 120, 140, something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here's the 387 that you put into furniture and equipment.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Probably-
Okay. Yeah,
And then
that was
some
an
of the-
IT grant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the 42,244, just some little items that are going to the building yet. I don't think you've started. We have anything really for the new bonding and the building yet. So
We
Yeah,
have some
thank you for that.
service
And-
money, but we don't have any capital, nothing that would be depreciable. Like,
Right. And Paul, I was just kind of curious, as I'm a little surprised that there's still redevelopment dollars still out there. That, redevelopment agencies were eliminated, God, about 8 years ago or so. I'm surprised that there's still some monies coming in.
Yeah, they're still closing them out, but they consider, because what we don't want to show is, okay, what this goes to. Remember the take that they did for the school
Yep.
budget? Yeah. So the biggest thing is you never want to be in a position, and you want to make sure when you put these financials together that you don't commingle stuff that wouldn't be part of a take. Okay, so the take from the state goes back and looks at your financial statements and your state controller's report. And there's a special line in there for the redevelopment one-time money that's coming to an end. But the take would be on the current amount of the current secured and unsecured portion, not homeowners, not railroad, nothing like that, but just the current. So we try to separate that out because sometimes it's a big number and it'll jump around if an asset is sold or something. So yeah.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah. So we never want to commingle anything that's part of a take. We want to have that stand out there, because if you didn't know and you combined them and they look at the number, okay, that's the number for the take I can take. Oh no, you don't want that.
No, it makes perfect sense, Paul. I was just surprised that there's still some assets still out there that are still being liquidated.
Well, they're still paying off the debt service on them. That's why. So the cities are still, once if the debt was still in there prior to the removing of the redevelopment area, that debt service is still going on. So any further questions? I'm here to answer questions, or I think it's a really good year. We show positive cash 121,016, and when we go back to full accrual, because of how we capitalize the fixed assets and then depreciate those fixed assets, mainly we've got a positive change in that position full accrual basis of 311,210. So the full accrual is even better.
Well, I had a quick question, but we have to back up a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Yeah, it has to do with that LA pooled investment fund.
Yeah.
You were talking about at the beginning about the fact that it showed a loss and so on. And I'm noticing on note 2, it says the district is a voluntary participant in that plan. And I always thought that we had to have a certain amount of our funds into that plan. And then we would have a smaller percentage in other types of plans. Am I wrong about, I don't know where I got that idea, but am I wrong about that?
There's still a banking aspect that you have with them, but you could remove the funds. But the thing is, it's making a better return than the alternatives that you have right now. So it's good to be in there. It's just, it was the timing at the end of the year when interest rates really, if you remember, if you refied your house in May, June, or July, I refied in May. 1.75 for 15 years. It's just amazing. So when it hit, the market just was at its lowest of all points when it was at June 30th. That was the best rates ever. And I got a 15-year 1.75. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm paying nothing in interest. But that was the timing. And it was just a timing thing of when it did that. It'll change back. It's unfortunate that we were in such a good position the year before, and then it just rolled the other way. So
yeah, that answers my question. Thanks. I just for some reason thought that we had to have some minimum amount in that particular fund, and you cleared that up. So
the county is still the way that it has for you with the library. You're a voluntary participant, but you're still a participant because they do the banking and pushing your property tax money and special assessment money into your account there. So
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Paul, this is Trustee Capel. Were you going to talk specifically about any of the pension or OPEB liabilities, or can I just ask a question on that?
Sure, we can talk about those real quick. So the liabilities, let's go here right now. Let's talk about the pension first. So this is the pension plan, okay? Your liability is 2.7 million, okay, in the pension plan here. This is based on, let's go up here. Oh, sorry. This is what we call your census, okay? Where'd it go? There it is, the census. So you have 3 active members under your classic plan 1 and number 2. Okay. Those plans are 2% at 55 and 2% at 60. Okay. So which that means is when you reach 55 years of age and say you worked for 30 years, okay, the number of years times 2 will give you 60%. That'll be 60%. You could, at 55, you could retire with 60% of your last 3 years average payroll. Okay, you get that? You get how that works?
Yep.
Okay. Same thing with 2% at 60. You could retire with 2% times 30 years. If you worked at the district for 30 years, that's 60%. You could get 60% of your last salary at 60. And then there's PEPRA, which is a little bit 2% at 62. Okay, so that's the bet value there. Your census is right now, you have 3 members that are active still. And remember, this is 1 year behind. This is June 30, 2020. Okay, things may have changed by now. Transfer terminated members, people may get a partial pension because they worked over 5 years or they've been in Calpers for over 5 years. And then retired members and beneficiaries. So you have 26 right now retired earning benefits. Okay. Then you have PEPRA. We don't have anybody retired, but we have 28 members in the pool there. So the actuary takes the census information, age of person, male, female, years of age, and they take that and they put this into this calculation here. The calculation says you have at June 30th, 2020, the actuaries are going to be in front of the game. They're always going to be in front of the game. Okay. A $9.6 million pension liability. Okay. That is your pension liability for the pensioners and those that are actively earning pension right now. Okay. The next number, the 6.8, is your bank at Calpers. You have $6.8 million with Calpers. This is the number that you put your contributions in. This makes the payments to your retirees. This is what's being earning investment return over the period of time. Now, this number here, you can see the decrease from 7 to 6. You ask yourself why. These annuity products do not work well without a strong fixed income market, period. I don't care what's in the equities. That's realized gains of selling securities and dividends. Right here, without a good fixed income rate of return, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Remember, these were all developed in the 80s, a lot of them in the 80s when we were all earning 5%, 6% interest rate on CDs and things. That's why. With the reduction of the interest rate value, this bank of Calpers is going to go down. This actuarial number is going to go up, and they're going to be asking for more until interest rates rise, period. That's just how this works. Okay. So when you look at those two, that's how it changes during the year. Now, right now, the district is only being asked to provide about $300,000 a year in benefits expense for pension. This is the district's contribution to Calpers, $300,000. If we look back here at the end of the report, the trending, the district has been asked, okay, to make these contributions going forward. All right. So 178, 205, 231, 248, 277, 307, 393, 129, moving forward with the contributions. So they're asking you for more and more each year.
So yeah, so that's a really great explanation. Is there anything that can or that you would suggest we look at or think about to try and get ahead of that, I guess?
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
know some places do like these kind of bulk payments to try and get that number down.
Paul
Yeah.
and Trustee Capel, I can attack that for a bit because Nikki and I are actually looking into doing that as we speak, and we've been approached by Cal Muni advisors to help us develop a policy in managing the pension with a mix of strategies of additional payments, like you mentioned, also a 115 trust later on as we can get more money and fund a trust like that where you can earn additional earnings outside of like the LA County to apply towards your pension, as well as just implementing a policy so that there's kind of concrete lines of, okay, if we have extra money this year, let's make an additional payment to the pension, or let's send a little bit to the trust. So that way we're sort of getting ahead of it, because you can see, as Paul mentioned, each year it just keeps growing. So if you don't attack it and get more money into Calpers where you can, your funding percentage is going to keep going down, and your minimum required payments going to keep going up.
Yeah. Right
Can
now,
I'll just say that we're going to have Cal Muni present to the budget committee in February with a proposal around the next steps for this. So it's going to be coming to the full board pretty soon as well.
yeah, I mean, from an audit perspective, I know kind of the direction you're going in with your infrastructure and your building. And I would say, focus on that first. And then once all of that kind of settles, then the next project would be to take on something like this.
Quick follow-up question, just so I understand the numbers that are before us here. Just taking a look at the 393,129,000 through June 30th. Does that reflect the amount that the district has to contribute just for the retirees, or is that also include the money that it's setting aside for the existing employees?
It's both.
It is both. So I'm curious as to the money that we're setting aside, it's earning some interest to be able to cover future expense of those future retirees. But for those existing retirees, there's basically an unfunded mandate that we have to contribute. I'm kind of curious as to as we're looking to tackle this, trying to understand the distinction between covering the expense for the existing retirees versus that of the existing employees. Just kind of understanding just what that, looking at the projection. So as we're looking at Nikki, as example, bringing the consultant in, looking at both projections, because obviously they both have a significant play. But obviously you think across the country, unfunded mandates for pension obligations are get close to bankrupting cities and counties. So I'm glad that Trustee Capel brought this up.
Yeah. So part of this aspect, of course, is just like Social Security that is taken out and paid to the IRS every time you make payroll. Part of that is what this is. When you make the employee gets deducted their 7% share, then you're on the hook for, let's see, the employee takes out 7%. The district pays 10.868 on those employees that are in Classic Tier 1, 9.15 Classic Tier 2, and 7.072% in Classic Tier 2. So, PEPRA.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So when you're making, this is what like the Social Security that the employees are paying this rate, and the district is paying this rate for the active employees throughout the year. Then there's a set aside that's also being asked, a fixed payment each July for the current retirees. Any
Well,
further questions?
can I ask a follow-up to that? So I noticed also that there is, in addition to the sort of increased contribution that's being asked for, there was a table in there about the increasing cost of healthcare, and that has a projected trend line up as well, that everybody expects that's going to continue to get more expensive. And I guess two questions on that. One, can you tell us if there's any kind of discussion in your circles around what's happening with the proposed single payer bill that's in the assembly right now? Because like, how would that affect an agency like ours? And secondly, what are the kind of moving pieces in terms of what we can do, similarly to Jason's question around controlling some of those costs?
Yeah, I mean,
Not much, right?
healthcare is a hard one. I mean,
Yeah.
the only way to control those costs, cut off the program. So
Yeah, well, right, which is that's not an option, right? Like that's not
an option. I know.
no, that's not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The aspect with the single payer in the state of California and that bill, I mean, that's going to be a tough road to haul here in the state. I mean,
Right.
you know, we're all going to be, you know, the aspect of looking at, yeah, we have a nice reserve that we have here now, but they're looking to double, you know, our, you know, going from 10 to 20% our state income tax. I mean, that's, wow. I don't know if the constituents, the people of California are really looking for that.
Right.
So,
Well, I was more curious as to whether there's any sort of conversations around future projections for a changing system, or if it's just like, well, this is how stuff is going and we're just going to have to, it's just going to get more expensive forever.
I mean,
And that kind of sounds like what it is.
it's just going to get more expensive forever. I mean, that's it.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
a terrible system we have.
Yeah.
Neat. But okay, no, that's my question, right? Because there's nothing we can do about that. But we do have to budget for it.
It's putting a cap, you know, in the benefits that you've provided out there. It's putting a cap on the benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
In
Okay.
this type of aspect here. So,
Okay. Thank you.
anything else? Terry, you've always got questions.
I have a question about something completely different. I'll wait. Are you done for now, or do you have some more to go?
I think that's about, I think I've covered the high points there. Anything
Okay.
else?
Well, I have a question based on, but you might not be able to help me on this one. If you look at your page 16 or page 28 of the packet, it's note 1, and it has something, it's very interesting to me. I'll read it. It's in the second paragraph. It said the district is the primary, sorry, I don't have my reading glasses on, is the primary governmental unit based on the foundation of a separately elected governing board that is elected by the citizens in a general popular election. Component units are legally separate organizations for which the elected official of the primary government are financially accountable. The district is financially accountable if it appoints a voting majority of the organization's governing body, and it goes on for some language here. So is that saying that the district becomes financially accountable based on this once 3 of the 5 members are appointed rather than elected? Or I know this is a very arcane question, maybe I just got this wrong, but you know, I could see a point in time where we've got 3 appointed trustees on our board and 2 elected trustees. So I just wondered about that.
No, you're still, the 5 of you still work as a governing body, whether you're appointed or elected in your positions. No, it's another organization that so Friends of the Library that feeds into their sole purpose is to feed, you know, the organization, kind of like the scholarship funding arm of a college or university, the financial, that position, that their whole source thing is to feed money into the mothership. Friends of the Library, you know, that's their position. If you have a majority amount of board members of the district that also sit on Friends of the Library, you've assumed the direction of both entities are going in the same direction, and we would need to consolidate in the Friends of the Library into the mothership. That's what it's talking about.
Okay, great. So I think I misread that a little bit. Thanks for the clarification.
This is like, what do we do for a subsidiary that truly supports 100 the mothership? If you have 2 distinct different boards, you're 2 separate. But if you have a governing majority on a sub, you're 1 in an accounting aspect.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I've got a quick question about what's coming down the line. So 2020, fiscal year 2021 will presumably be the last year in which we have no CFD revenue, right? So going forward, we'll have our CFD revenue, we'll have debt service on that, we'll have all of those component pieces. How will that impact the process of the audit that you guys do, if at all?
There'll be some more work to do because once the debt is levied, the debt is levied.
Okay.
And then collections are still being collected by the LA County Treasurer Tax Collector, Assessor's Office.
Mhm.
So that's going to be the collection. So we watch the collection revenue come in, and then, but hey, the internal controls, segregation of duties, that's all the county. So that's good. All right.
Right.
Party validation. Once the debt gets settled, all you have is just principal and interest payments through the years.
Okay.
It's not a lot of work. It's not a lot. It's just, we just have to look at a couple other things and how that presents on the financial statements. So.
Got it. So it sounds like a report very similar to this one with a couple extra pages rather than, a totally separate parallel process, for example.
No, we're going to have,
great.
Okay. Long-term debt. You're going to have other types of revenue. So yeah.
Cool. That's great. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else have questions for Paul? No, seeing none. Paul, thank you very much for that comprehensive overview of the audit. In general terms, would you say we're in good shape? Sounds like, based on the numbers.
Yeah, good numbers. Good. The numbers settled very well. They settled to the positive, and we understand the direction that you're moving in to, upgrade your infrastructure, which is great. So.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time, Paul.
And, be happy and healthy going forward. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Next on our agenda is the departmental update reports. Do any of our trustees have questions of Director Winslow and or her staff on the report that was submitted? No? Okay. All right. I'll turn it over to Nikki and move forward with the presentation.
Presentation. Sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Are we talking about?
That's correct. This is the departmental update reports.
Oh, no. Usually the board members just comment on the reports if they want to.
Okay. All right. So then that's fine. Since there is no comments and beginning on page 65, then we'll just move on. Then next would be the reports itself. So it'd be support groups. So I see that we've got Bridget from the Altadena Library Foundation. Are you there?
I am here. Hi.
Hello.
Actually, I'm just going to touch the highlights of this report. I think really probably the most significant thing is that we're finally coming up with our first really comprehensive operational plan. The board is really excited about finally seeing something clearly laid out that will sort of keep us much more on track than we have been in the past. I think secondly, the other really important announcement is having invited Ann Donahue to serve on our board. And she's really excited, has lived in the area for some time, and she takes her son to Bob Lucas all the time. And most happily, she loves doing grant research, and her profession is writing grants. So we're really, really excited about that. And the only other additional thing is how excited we are about working on the community focus group and seeing the vision start to sort of come together for what our libraries might possibly look like in meeting the needs of the community. So overall, exciting stuff.
Great. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for that report. Any questions or comments of Bridget?
Bridget,
Terry.
Terry. what a nice job. I mean, you put a lot of effort into this, your team did. And I was impressed by all of the individual goals that you have listed and responsibility and everything else. So you never seem to flag in your energy there at the foundation. So
Well, at
thank
least
you
they
very
don't let
much.
it show.
It's terrific. I just want to give you my thumbs up on this.
Thank you. I tell you what has made the difference is finally finding the will and the finance to hire an administrative person who can help us do these deep dives into our information. We've just not had that before. And it's making a real difference for the organization, I think.
Okay, good
Exciting.
job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Any other trustees? No? Okay, well, once again, thank you. I echo what Terry said and I really appreciate all the great work you're doing. So next, we've got the Friends of. Sally, you there?
I am.
Hello, Sally.
Hello. Thanks for having me. So last month, nothing new happened. So I didn't submit a report, and I've just got a couple of sentences that I'd like to share. So there wasn't any news this month. So but a few days ago, the high winds destroyed our book donation tent. So we will have to find a better solution for book donations. And the plans are ongoing with the Kenny Arts project and to hold a Kenny Arts event at the library March, April. That's just ongoing. And we have the big decision that we made was we just scheduled the Big May book sale for the weekend of May 21st and 22nd. And we may also have a membership event on the Friday evening of the May 20, but that is not yet ratified and will be at our meeting on the 1st, of February. So really, it was Lee months, and I'm sorry there's no actual report.
No, that's perfectly
it.
fine. That's lovely. Thank you. Any questions of Sally? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for your time, Sally. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next is the District Director's Report, which you can be found starting on page 81 of our handouts.
Yeah, 81. Wow. It's a big package again, huh? Good evening, trustees and community members and colleagues. I wanted to start out tonight by saying welcome to our new Assistant Library Director. I am so excited that she started off this new year with us and kicked it off the right way. I absolutely loved working with her when I was in Glendale, and already am enjoying our first few weeks together. So Ashley, would you like to say hello in a few words?
Hi, it's really just a pleasure to be here and finally meet you all. We hear and talk so much about the board, and so it's nice to put some faces to the group that I've been hearing so much about. And I'm just really excited to be here. I'm excited that we're open and I get to see the community, and that's really what it's all about and why we're all here. So I'm just looking forward. The staff has been wonderful to work with so far. We have so much I know we're going to do together. So I'm just really, really excited. In case you can't tell by the smile, I'm happy to be here. And thank you guys so much for having me here tonight. Thank you.
Welcome and congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Good to have you
Take
with
that,
us.
Glendale.
Yep, that's right.
That's our feeder system.
All right, so yeah, thank you. Ashley has spent her first few weeks meeting basically with every staff person to help understand their expectations of her as well as management and vice versa. So really hit the ground running, and I'm excited. Good energy that we have moving forward.
Real quick, Nikki, if you don't mind me asking Ashley one quick question.
Sure.
You were like the librarian at the New Orleans Public Library, is that right? And I'm real
Yes.
curious about that, about how many branches they have there and how big that system is in New Orleans.
It's very big. They're up to 15 branches now. So really huge system.
And a follow-up question on that, given the number of disasters they've had down there in the last few years, did the library system get involved in helping with people who needed a place to stay? And, did you do activities like that? Did the library serve that function, in other words, for the city of New Orleans?
Yes, yes, especially connecting people to resources. So I happened to be working at the library when Katrina hit, and that was like the biggest disaster we've experienced. And so I was forced back into the city not that long after, and the city just really wasn't a great place to be living at that time, but we opened and we were just a place for members of the community to come, and it was a safe place. There was lots of looting happening. There were curfews in place where you couldn't even go out at night, but at least during the day, people had a safe place to come and be connected to resources. We had FEMA and all sorts of other organizations set up there as well to help connect people to resources.
That's great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Good question, Siri. All right. So my only other hiring update is, as you're aware, we still have our vacant office manager position. I am happy to report that our accountant, Cindy Byram, and I are going to be doing initial screening of candidates this coming Wednesday. So everybody, please cross your fingers and your toes that we have some really high quality candidates, because I would love to fill that position and hand over some of the finance duties to them. So I'll update you at our meeting next month on that. So I do want to say thank you to the staff, the trustees, as well as the community members for your patience these past few weeks as we went back to being closed and offering curbside services. As you saw in my report, we decided to close the building one day early before the New Year's holiday. So we closed on the 30th. That's when the cases started going like into the 20,000s, I believe, per day. It really worked out that I had reached out to Ian McFeet, who's the principal of Avison Charter School, to see if we could start testing all the staff weekly. So I had all those tests on hand at that point. So we had everybody come in on Monday the 3rd and test. And I tested outside actually with me. And then we required that everybody have a negative test before we brought them back into the building, which most of us returned on Wednesday. As you know, offered curbside, which was popular. And we're going to continue to test weekly, at least for the next several weeks. And it's all set up and going really smoothly. So again, thank you to everyone for your patience. We did open back up this morning, which is wonderful news, and now have our new restored hours that are similar to the pre-pandemic hours that we had. So just so everybody's aware, at the main library, we're open Monday and Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Wednesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then the Bob Lucas branch will be open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, so only thing I had to comment on the statistics is I'm sure you've noticed there's a little bit of a programming statistics drop in December, and that's because we take a programming break. There are some programs that do take place in December, but overall we typically don't offer them. And again, this number is going to continue to remain at 0 for January and February, because we've suspended all in-person programming until we get through this surge. So hopefully we'll be bringing back in-person programming starting in March. Sadly, that meant we had to cancel our second Saturday in February, but it just didn't feel like the responsible thing to do to bring a large crowd of people together at this point. Okay, on to something more happy. Last Wednesday, we met with Standard & Poor's. Never thought I'd say I would be trying to get a credit rating as a librarian for the district, but we did. Ian was also part of that too, so thank you to Ian for his contributions. Our bond issuance team all met, which included Doug Anderson, our municipal advisor, Mike Kavanaugh, our bond underwriter, Mernal Shaw, our bond and disclosure counsel, and Nick Dayhoff, our special tax consultant. We were prepared for about an hour meeting. You typically present a PowerPoint and then answer any questions they have regarding like community numbers, lots of questions that we might have anticipated, whether you have cybersecurity. But anyway, the bond issuance team was wonderful, completely prepared myself as well as everybody else. And the meeting only took 30 minutes, which Mike Kavanaugh said is like the fastest he's ever seen. And really the gentleman from Standard & Poor's was just like, yes, your metrics are great. They're great. Wouldn't you say, Ian? He was just like over the top positive with us. So like they had
it was awesome. He was very receptive. He had a few questions, and overall it went so smoothly because the district was in a great position for this type of an issuance. So very, very good response.
Yeah. So that's wonderful news. As far as a timeline goes, we should be getting the credit rating from Standard & Poor's around February the 2nd, and we'll be pricing bonds by mid-February. I will be in discussion with the bond issuance team about how we're going to be promoting that to the local residents that would be interested in purchasing bonds when they do become available to buy. They anticipate that we'll have the sale of the bonds closed by like end of February, early March, and then we'll hopefully have the proceeds shortly thereafter. So all running smoothly. Lastly, I just said, or I wanted to mention that the Poets Laureate process is still open, the application process. So if you know anyone locally that would be interested in serving for the next 2 years in one of those two positions, please encourage them to visit the website. The deadline to apply is February 11th. And if it's anything like my last few months, that will be here very, very quickly. So, and then I did want to say that today I spent time with Ian. We've spent a lot of time together today, reviewing our mid-year budget numbers. Thanks to him and Ide Bailey for getting those together for us so quickly. So we have a couple more projections to run, but we'll have the adjustments ready to present to the budget committee at our meeting next Thursday, February the 3rd at 1 o'clock. And then we'll be able to take those forward to the board next month. So everything's looking pretty good. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Nikki. Any questions of our director?
You anticipated my one question, which was about the timing on the mid-year budget adjustment. So question answered.
There you go. She's on it.
Ready for you guys next week.
On it. I know it. Love it.
Any other trustee questions or comments? No. Great. Well, Nikki, I know you did a great job presenting the district and certainly Altadena, so as evidenced by the 30-minute meeting. So well done. So the rating will come in very soon and we'll be off and running. So very good. Okay. That being said, the next item is the financial statement for November 21.
All right. Thank you. All right. So the financial statements are through November of 2021, which marks 42% of the fiscal year. Our year-to-date revenues are just over 70,000 and year-to-date expenses almost 2 million. So our net is a negative almost 9 million. As you know, we're about in December, we did receive our big lump sum. So yay, we're going to be in the positive when I present next month, thankfully. So total cash and investments right now are at 2,174,665, which exceeds the required 1.9 million, which is 50% of the operating expenses. Just a few monthly highlights. We received $43,649 in property taxes and assessments, as well as $3,829 due to passport services. In terms of expenditures, we did have an expense of $10,241, which was 2 payments for our new janitorial services. By the way, we've received so much positive feedback from the staff for the work that they're doing. So I definitely think money very well spent. They've been doing an excellent job. And then we also spent almost $40,000 on library materials in November. So lots of purchasing of items for the collection, as well as digital. And then in terms of capital fund, we did spend 55,778 between Home Structures, which was the firm that did our seismic studies, as well as with Rackland Partners, our capital project management firm. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the financials. Another
Thank
kind
you
of
for that
boring.
report. All good. Questions? Katie?
Quick question for you, and this is just I always like to go through and see if the year-to-date target matches the percentages on the revenues and expenses. And one jumped out at me that I was just hoping you could tell me a little bit more about, and it's line item number 49, website development, and it looks like we're at 169% of our budget, and obviously we can, adjust that when we do our mid-year budget adjustment. But I was wondering if you could just tell me why that is.
It's interesting.
I believe actually we corrected. So these November statements have that expense in there. I think it was just a misclassification during the accounts payable process. So in December, because Nikki and I were just looking at the mid-year budget today, something we corrected. So we have not spent that much in website development as of November.
Okay.
You will see that corrected on the December statement.
What rough percentage are we at? Are we like below 100?
Yes, we're below 100. And even then,
Awesome.
we don't have any, I believe we're reclassing what even we saw today there, which was about $100, better classified to technology maintenance fees. We really haven't spent anything in website development, which would be true updates.
It's a small budget anyway, but I was just curious.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
no, that's a good catch there.
Is a good catch. And I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't what we were just looking at.
Yeah, because we were just taking a look at that today, but we've since corrected that.
Yeah.
Well, everything else looked so like right, where we'd expect it to be. So that one stood out. So thanks for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Great.
And I haven't
Any
pointed
other-
this out in a while, but I like seeing just the zeros under legal expenses. It's been a
always
while
good.
since I've been able, since I've
Oh,
taken
man.
advantage of the opportunity to point that out, and I want it to be
Those were
on
the
record.
days. Yeah. Love
Yeah,
it.
we're going to be proposing cutting quite a bit out of that budget because we're really not spending much, knock on wood.
It's a
Good.
wonderful thing.
AKA
Yeah.
behaving ourselves.
Mhm.
Very nice. Any other questions? No, seeing none. Thank you very much for that report, Nikki. All right. So next up, as the trustees standing committee reports, budget committee, Katie, any report?
Nope. Just that the budget committee is meeting next week. So
Yep.
that is a public meeting. If anybody's feeling like they need more budget committee in their life, come on down. It's going to be a blast.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. All right. The Terry CFD committee. Any report?
No, we did not meet, and we canceled it late. I think we got everybody. I am feeling the need to meet though, and we'll usually consult with Nikki about what the activities are that we need to approve and so on. And I think that we will probably go ahead with our meeting. Come out, Nikki, is that correct?
Yeah, I could see providing an update to the CFD committee on the bond issuance process with that team.
Yeah, I would think even if it looks like something, we don't need to be involved because there's no approvals, whatever, it'd be great to gather them to give an update on what's going on.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Right. Thank you, Terry. Okay. Next on the agenda are the trustee ad hoc committee reports. First up, facilities committee, Jason.
Yeah, I think the report speaks for itself. Not a lot of changes from last month. And, the biggest thing is that we're continuing to move forward with some somewhat frequent meetings of our community focus group. I really want to take the opportunity to thank everybody who's volunteered to be part of that. Folks are putting in a lot of time. They're taking it very seriously, really engaging in the conversation, asking lots of good questions, providing lots of great feedback. I'll say for myself that just where we're at in the process and, the very, very beginnings of looking at what's going to be possible for the Bob Lucas Library in particular, it's already way exceeding my expectations, 2 years ago when we were first talking about Measure Z. And it's incredibly exciting. the next few months, when as these ideas kind of start to materialize and we get some hard pictures and all that in place, we will be announcing some at-large meetings that'll be open to the entire community to start providing feedback. And we're also got a kind of subgroup that's going to start meeting to start thinking about broader communication strategies. Obviously, we can't expect that everybody's just going to come to a meeting, right? So we want to make sure that we have ideas and strategies to be reaching out to folks in as many ways as possible and get as much feedback and input as possible before we finalize any of this. But it's very exciting times. And again, thanks to all of our dedicated volunteers for participating. You're on mute, Rushmore.
Oh, okay. So thank you very much for your leadership on that and your hard work. Any questions of Jason? No? Okay. Great. Thank you very much for that. Okay. And then we are now next is, let me see here, redistricting. Camila, any report?
Hello.
Hello.
The report is that we are having a challenging time getting a hold of Doug Johnson of the, I always want to say CDC, but it's,
if that were the case, it would make a lot more sense. Why it's not
right.
Now.
We have emailed him several times, and then Katie's made a couple of phone calls, and we're not able to get a hold of him. And he is really, and the company is really the ones that are planning to kind of walk us through this process. And so Katie and I was saying that we probably should meet and try and figure out what to do next, because we cannot get a hold of him. I'm concerned that maybe something's going on, given that it's COVID season. So yeah, I don't know if you all have any ideas in terms of how, what other next steps that we can take. I was thinking of maybe contacting the overall organization. Does he own and operate?
He owns the company. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
NDC is his company. And I get the impression that it's not like there's a huge staff. What I was going to suggest, Camila, I feel like NDC has the contract to do some other redistricting work locally. I can't remember if they have the city of Pasadena contract, but I'm pretty positive they have a PUSD one. So I can reach out to some folks and see if they're in contact. I mean, they're doing other projects that have to be done right now because they need to file those maps by April. We don't. I mean, we're voluntarily undertaking this process
right
in advance. So, worst case scenario, it could always get pushed a year and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I am a little bit concerned about the non-responsiveness. Like, that's not great, because I know like the volume of emails from you and me and Nikki at this point is like, it's extensive. So, and we do have like a signed letter of intent and the whole thing. We didn't pay him any money yet, right? Nikki, we didn't, right?
Nope.
Great.
We just entered
Great.
an agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my recollection.
Good news.
Yeah. So Camila, I think your suggestion is good. Like, let's set up a meeting and figure it out. I'll call him again before then. I'll see if I can shake anything loose from anybody else who's using NDC and see if we can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So then I'll reach out to you and Nikki and Diego to try and schedule something in the upcoming weeks so that we can figure out how we should move forward.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Camila. Okay, next on the agenda is the Liaison Reports. Terry, you have a report on file for the governance liaison?
I do,
starting
yeah.
on page 93 of the handout?
It began on page 93 of the packet. And I'll admit to being a little more ambitious than I should have been on this particular one. What I did is I sat down and watched Governor Newsom's report on what's called California Blueprint, which is his budget proposal for this coming year. the state of California has a fiscal year that begins on July the 1st, same as ours. And he gets this report, his recommendations ready about now, for those of you that probably know this, but I'll repeat it. And there's a debate in the chambers, and the bill advances to a sort of overview or a redo about May. But in June, usually the California budget gets voted to be approved because there is a law in place that prevents the assembly members and senators and so on from being paid until that budget is passed, which is an interesting little wrinkle. So some version of what Newsom has here will be passed coming up in probably about June. And the reason I guess I went into detail about this is that as I listened to the program, and again, you can give this on YouTube if you're so inclined. The presentation is 90 minutes and question and answer is 90 minutes after that. The first 90 minutes is all you need to hear. But there are some things that Newsom's proposing that could have an impact on Altadena. So I'll go through these real quick and try to enlighten us all on that. The first thing, and another problem that I had with this report, is that there's no way I can reconcile all the numbers I put here. What he started right off with is a $286.4 billion balanced budget with a general fund of $213 billion and $36.6 billion in reserves. Well, that doesn't add up to the first number. So I stopped looking at accuracy and really looking more with what the concept of what he's trying to do. The most important thing, of course, is that we're rolling in California in taxpayer revenue right now. And Newsom has, I think, done a pretty good job of finding out where the tranches of money, where he's recommending that they go. You'll see again toward the bottom of that page 93, that he's dedicated to improving the health of the state retirement funds, apropos to what we were talking about before, and projects a big investment this year and continued big payments toward that retirement fund in the next 4 years, all of which will be on balanced budget type of terms. And then he talks about a surplus of $45.7 billion that he will divide into 5 tranches and give money to these different causes. One will be fighting COVID with science, combating climate change, confronting homelessness, tackling cost of living, and keeping streets safe, which are all political goals, I understand, but I think his focus is pretty good on that. I'm going to jump right down to combating climate change to give some brevity to this report. And this is where I could see maybe some of the effects of this spilling over into us locally. For climate change, one of his proposals is $2.7 billion for forest health and fire protection, including $1.2 billion for new spending. And what he's talking about is $44 million in community protection, which would be programs that would help, people keep the perimeter of their yards free from flammable debris, and all kinds of programs that can happen that way. A new office of wildfire protection, which will be a state office, and $38 million for remote detection sensors. And I don't know about you all, but on Friday night, when I sat in my darkened house from that windstorm and the electricity went out very suddenly, it was probably a sensor-related event on the power poles. We lost electricity for almost 2 days over here where I live. And I was really grateful at the end of that time. We had the lights come back on, obviously, but also for the fact that the sensors that they've been putting in all over Altadena had a big role to play in tripping the circuit and not allowing a fire to get going with that. So there's lots of money spending that will take place on those things. And I could see those actually happening in Altadena. So I listed those on there. He's also got $648 million in firefighters and equipment, including planes and helicopters to help with firefighting. And then $62 million for emergency response, including earthquake preparedness with early detection and technology. So all of these things, in a way, could impact us here where we live in Altadena, being close to the forest, and we have extreme heat events here and a lot of the other things that he was talking about. So I really liked the focus of these things on our community because I think they really could help. There's other things that I could go on about regarding healthcare and housing and so on, but I'll let you read that. And again, I'd recommend that people take a look at the the budget presentation for more information. And then I had one other item, which I'm now having trouble finding, which here it is. It's from the CSDA. And I know Nikki, I keep bugging Nikki about this, but I mentioned before that we might have some revenue coming to us or available from the American Rescue Plan that would go toward the shortfall that we had in passport processing for that, 20 or 18 months, whatever it was that we were really impacted. They have written the final rules for that now, and that there is a process in place for us to go back and apply for that. And again, it's Nikki's call, but I did want to make the announcement that that has been finalized. The procedure has been finalized and is ready to take applications. So I'll stop there. I could go on, but I don't want to turn into the policy wonk that Governor Newsom appears to be very good at it.
Terry, no, it's very fascinating, and certainly we talk about the climate change, but more specifically how it could potentially have impact here locally with the forest area that we live in. So very interesting. Any questions of Terry?
Not a question. I just want to say thank you, Terry. I always really appreciate your reports and the level of detail. I read a lot of reporting that comes out of Sacramento, and I feel like I get a lot more information from your reports every month. So thank you. It's wonderful. And I just know how much time you spend trying to bring everything together for us. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. And part of it for me is sort of self-awareness, because I really like this type of a thing. So it's really not that much of a stretch for me to sit down and listen to Newsom jabber for an hour and a half. So it's fun, and I really like doing it.
Yeah, well, the summations are very much appreciated. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, plus I can use all that info to really nail State Farm and ask them why they jacked my property insurance up 25% after the Bobcat fire.
Yeah. Well, one interesting thing, and I'll start with this that came out tonight, was that I could see a nexus between the library and some of these extreme heat events. And, do we have the air conditioning to take in some people? And that was one of the reasons I wanted to ask Ashley earlier about the what happened in New Orleans during the disasters they had there. I'm done.
Well, and I know we've had some ongoing conversations with the Red Cross as well around ways in which structurally and also in terms of services, the library can fulfill some of those roles in coordination with other sites around Altadena. So I think it's very timely.
Excellent. Thank you very much again, Terry. I know that we had Sally speak earlier from the Friends. Camila, do you have anything else to add as part of the liaison report?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. And same with you, Katie. Any additional comments from regarding the foundation as a liaison?
Nope, they have a very ambitious plan, and I salute them, and I'm excited to see what the coming year brings. Looks great.
They do indeed. Thank you very much. Any other trustee reports of any kind? No, seeing none. Okay, and there's no unfinished business. So now we'll go on to item 8, which is new business. Letter A, review of the district's 2021 operational plan, starting on page 96. Nikki?
All right, here we go. Let me share my screen. And I know you guys, the presentation was already in the package, so let's see here. We'll just real quickly run through. Everyone can see my screen okay? Yeah?
Yes.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed the many, it was 20 pages of operational plan 2021 updates. I just wanted to highlight a few from each department and some of the goals that are going to be carrying over into 2022. And then happy to answer any questions. So some of the key accomplishments related to administrative services and facilities. We did implement all staff participating in Project Ready, which is a curriculum that was developed by University of North Carolina with IMLS funding to educate library staff on race, racism, and racial equity. All of the staff that started are currently done with 10 of the modules. There are 27, so this was a very long commitment, but I know we've all learned a lot. We did have to form a second cohort with many of the new staff that have started with us, but we're going to continue that into this year as well. Excited to have installed 7 new Little Free Libraries throughout the community and are filling them using the Curiosity Connection and donations from the friends. And we went through 7 RFP processes to hire both the project management firm, the bond issuance team, as well as our janitorial services. So it was a really busy year. And I was saying, like, that one sentence doesn't just do justice to the amount of work that went into that, but I am happy to say that we hired lots of people this year. And then we also updated the emergency manual. We implemented a new collection development policy and created a centralized hub for all of our policies and procedures in one place for staff to access, as well as, I know the board is aware, have brought at least one policy every month to the board for review and approval. So it's been a busy year of making sure we're staying on top of policy updates. So moving into 2022, I already am in conversation with Eide Bailey about updating our ALD financial policies. This is especially important right now as we're going to be doing a bond issuance, and we need to make sure all of our financial policies are accurate and updated. The last major update to the policies were 2009. So really hoping to bring those to the board soon. And then our ongoing work related to the 2 building renovations, obviously. And that was a major theme in last year's operational plan as well as this year's. In terms of adult services, they led planning and execution of the 3 Inspire Harmony sessions in June. I know some of the trustees attended those. I thought they were extremely popular and successful. They had the community conversations as part of that, and it was one of, I think, many people's first in-person program or time out. So I thought they were really great. We also installed the community compost bin at the Bob Lucas Library through a grant from LA Compost. We initiated Read Local, Shop Local and have 24 active business partnerships. I know we're looking to grow that even more this coming year. And we weeded all of the adult collections. And thankfully, with us having staff home back in December, January, February of last year, we were able to complete all of that work before even bringing staff back into the building. So one opportunity that arose from staff working from home. So some of the goals that we're carrying over from last year's plan into this year's is the youth and family services, as I'm sure the board is aware, have pretty much completed their diversity audit, and we'll be presenting a report to you at some point in the next few months about that. We're hoping to kick that off. Some of the staff in adult services are going to be completing more training around diversity audit of adults or items that aren't children's. So once that training is complete, we're going to be moving forward on diversity audit of all of the adult collection as well as teen. Staff are also working on a full revision and update for the information desk manual. So basically like an operational manual for the service points, as well as continuing to build a community asset database. Right now, our new community partnership librarian is kind of like owning this project to look at what's currently in the community asset database and make that a bit more robust of a tool. So let's see here. In terms of IT, some of our key accomplishments, I know we were all really excited to get the $350,000 from the state to completely upgrade our IT infrastructure at both libraries and have basically the fastest internet on this side of the country, in my opinion. We also received emergency connectivity funding, revenue to purchase 40 laptops and 16 new 5G hotspots, as well as service for those hotspots for 1 full year. And then we also initiated our partnership with MyLibro to develop a new Altadena Library District integrated app. And just so you're all aware, work on that is being done right now. So some of the goals for next year are moving forward with our randomized survey of the community. Really what we're waiting on with that, because Christopher generated all of the points of where we should go and try to collect this information. We need the volunteers to be able to do it. And it's been tough to get an army of volunteers. So once we were able to do that, we're hoping to move forward on the surveying. And then also installing steel case thread power, or basically optimizing electrical systems, and that will be done in coordination with the renovations, obviously. So busy year for IT for sure. So marketing and community engagement, big thanks to Bryn for helping us update this and carry some of these goals forward, since she did join us like later in the year. So they did compile a report of Inspire Harmony conversations with those 260 community members that attended the 3 events. And we did present that earlier in the year to the board. Streamline the onboarding and expanded evaluation of the adult volunteers, and updated the website, just made it a much more robust and streamlined process. Acquired, wrapped, and modified our mobile library unit. The van has had 48 outings and connected with 1,500 visitors and interactions, delivering 300 to 400 books and zines. So like, it's really exciting, all the work that the van's been able to do in this first like 6 months of existence. And then we also implemented a more frequent social media schedule, including Instagram posts and doubling Facebook, and with Facebook engagement rising 22.5%. YouTube views and subscribers increased almost 300%. So amazing. So some of the things that are in progress or we are reconsidering are reprioritized commitments due to staff turnover. Currently, we don't have the podcast, but we're looking at potentially bringing that back when we have the capacity to do so. Unfortunately, we did not make any progress with the Library of Experts, but I know that is a top priority this year, is identifying some of those experts in our community that we could connect patrons to that need their expertise. We have joined the Altadena Town Council's Communication Committee, and Bryn is going to continue to work with them to expand the Altadena Connections page, as well as a calendar for our stakeholders to be able to access and add things to as well. And then based on recent community feedback, we're drafting a consolidated landing page for the CFD, as well as information about the building projects, tax lien, and Measure Z information. Our 2 trustees on the facilities committee are really familiar with this. We're going to be meeting later this week to talk about having a really robust communication plan around the building projects to make sure our messaging is uniform and consistent, and that the website is constantly releasing information so people know what we're doing, and it's a very open and transparent process. All right. So youth and family services. 13 of our unique Library of Things items were added to the Library of Things collection. They created 35 Read With Me picture book kits in English, Spanish, and French to support some of the immersion programs in the community. These were really popular items to check out from the Curiosity Connection. They did complete their diversity audit, and as I mentioned, analysis and evaluation will be forthcoming. And they created 4 new deposit libraries established in West Altadena and Pasadena with nearly 300 children's books. So, and kudos to them on expanding that effort. So some of the partnerships and outreach in 2021, and I want to give like a shout out to Yvette, our Youth and Family Services librarian, and Isabel Breaks, our Teen Services librarian, because a lot of this is with schools, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but Yvette came from working in a school library before this. So her and Isabel have been really passionate about connecting with local schools. So as you can see the list, Jackson, Elliott, Washington, Waldorf, Avison, the LGBTQ+ club at John Muir High School, as well as some of the local group homes or foster homes for kids. So they've really expanded their outreach of trying to connect with these organizations or schools so we can better support the students in the community. All right, so that's what the little presentation I had about what we accomplished last year. As you can see in those 20 pages, there's a lot more, but kudos to the staff and my management team for identifying all of these goals and objectives and really accomplishing so much. Happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Great, thank you for that presentation. Any questions or comments from our trustees? Jason.
I mean, it's just an incredibly long list of amazing things that we're doing. pandemic be damned. Are there any thoughts about like a specific, like how can we use like, especially this presentation in particular, because it's so well put together as part of like the marketing, or is it at least gonna like be a link on the website so we like some of us could push it out through our socials? And
yeah, that's a really good idea. I don't know that the operational plan has its own place on the website. So I've been talking to Bryn about making sure that's posted, and we could put this presentation up there as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, great suggestion.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. All right, well, once again, go ahead, Terry.
Quick comment, that is that I like the way you're reprioritizing your some of your programs as well, Nikki, because you can't do everything, and the fact that you're not hanging on to everything, just trying to get the ones that are going to work. I like that selectivity because there's a lot going on here. You're doing a terrific job. And gosh, I mean, with all of the individual things happening, it makes me want to ride along, like with the police department for the day to find out what's going on out there with the library. So really good work on all this stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe we'll have a mobile library trustee ride-alongs. How about that?
There you go.
The consummate backseat drivers. No, great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Once again, a very comprehensive report. Appreciate that very much. Okay, so with that, then the next item on our agenda here is the review and approval of the resolution 2022-01, extension of provisions of resolution. Well, basically, this is the remote meeting item that we have every single month to allow us to continue to operate remotely. It's
Sorry,
it's the telework policy.
I apologize. It's the telework policy next. Yeah.
I glossed right over that. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 8B, review and approval of the district's updated telework policy. Thank you very much, Katie.
Trying to get this pulled up, but okay. So as I mentioned in the report, when I was doing a policy audit when I first started, there were several policies that we didn't have drafted at all, and one of them was telework. And those of you that were on the board in February of 2020 probably recall me saying, not that we would ever need to use this policy, but it's good to have one on the books. I should have played the lottery that week or something, but within a month, we had everybody teleworking. So it was very timely that we produced this policy. But it has been 2 years, and it was pointed out to us that there just needed to be some minor tweaks to it. The main thing was that the language about staff using personal devices, we absolutely discourage that, and anyone that works from home should be using library issued equipment. So other than that, there's not really too much else that we had to change, but we're bringing it back to you for a review and approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions on the policy? Katie.
Quick question, and this is just if you could refresh my memory on this. So I know in the policy it specifies that there's a minimum set of standards you have to meet in order to qualify basically to telework. And one of them is you have to work at the district for at least a year. But if I'm remembering correctly, there's a separate class of employees that are not, that doesn't apply to, right? Or does that apply to everybody?
Well, generally this policy isn't dealing with emergencies like we've dealt with lately. Mm-hmm. If we make a decision that everybody has to go home, this is really more so for those that want to approach the administration to start a telework schedule of some kind. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't apply to emergency situations, basically.
Right. But I guess my question is, and maybe I'm asking this the wrong way, didn't we reclass a couple of positions because they needed to be able to telework or needed to be eligible to do that? Or does this policy apply to everybody regardless?
This applies to everyone. We did reclassify the librarian positions to be exempt so that if they have to stay later or work alternate hours as the person's in charge of the building, that they can be in an exempt status, but the policy applies to everyone.
That has nothing to do with Heller. Okay, I think I had confused in my head the reclassing process with this. So, okay. All right. Yeah. No other questions then.
Great. Any other comments or questions from our trustees? No, seeing none. Now this is an action item. So may I get a motion to approve the updated telework policy?
So moved.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll do a roll call here. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
Great, and I vote for me. The item's approved. Thank you very much for that. Now we can go to item C, which is the standard monthly item that we approved in order for us to continue to operate remotely. I don't know that we need any further discussion on this. It was something we do every single month. Are any questions, comments on it? Seeing none. Okay, great. May I get a motion to approve item 8C?
I move we approve resolution 2022-01.
Great, thank you. May I get a second?
Second it.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All right, go to the vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
Great, and I vote for me. That item is approved. Thank you very much. We have no governance item, and then go on to announcements and planning. I don't see that we have any of the correspondence. Are there any proposed agenda items for our next meeting?
Well, I guess I've got a question. After our board retreat, it seemed like there were going to be some next steps, and I guess I was curious about, and maybe that's a governance item, or maybe it's something that's a future agenda item. But either way, it would be good to have sort of an update on where we are with that and know kind of what that process looks like and where we are.
No, that's a great question, Katie, and I wasn't sure where to insert this. So I did have a follow-up meeting with Nikki about this, and we're going to come together with a punch list of items and circle back with all of you. So I should have a report for you for the next meeting.
Okay, great.
I remember one of the things was going to be kind of a little bio about us and so on.
Right.
Should we still be thinking about working on that, or will that change?
Yes. Yeah. Well, what we're doing, and Camila sent out a number of questions to me, and we're working with our consultant, and we're going to come up with a hybrid using our pictures and then answering a list of questions, both professionally and personally. And so we'll get that out shortly. One thing that she will be doing is coming out to you shortly and asking if it's okay to ask to take some of the information you provided her in private conversations about your the reasons why you joined the board, and we can redact your names, doesn't really matter, but just so we can kind of get a flavor of that as well. So as a second piece of that is to come up with, some boilerplate, but our pitch that we all can go out with and explain, why we do this. So we can take what you initially told her, and then we can come back with some, kind of some refined language for all of us that we can utilize. So that way it's consistent as we go out to the community as well.
And then just real quick, an unrelated item. You said the budget meeting is going to be February the 3rd at 1 p.m. Is that correct?
It's Thursday, February 3rd at 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, great.
3 p.m. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. At this point, we are at 6:36. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Great. Thank you. Get a second.
A second.
Great. Thank you, Terry. All right. With that, again, 6:36. Thank you all for putting up with me. My first time running this meeting as president. Stumbling and stumbling my way through this, but thank you very much. So the meeting is adjourned. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for your time. Take care.
Stay safe,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.